there we go. Okay, my volume's on now. Hi everyone, and thanks for joining us. Today we're going to do the Rosie component. The Rosie component is this lovely component that you can make with some Potomac's IrisDuos and some seed beads, and then you can use a cushion or a volley in the center of it. So, component for earrings, you can make it into a bracelet, anything you want. So let's go to the mat. Okay, so what we're going to need for the Rosie component is our IrisDuos. And these are all things that you would have received in the Best Bead box. So if you're a subscriber, you've definitely received these items in one box or another. So we're going to start out with our IrisDuos, and you're only going to need 4 for the component, for one component. And we have some 11-Os. So we're going to start out with our IrisDuos and 11-Os.
Sounded like you said IrisDuos.
IrisDuos. Our IrisDuos, yeah.
You could make a clover with them.
Yeah, we're going to use our IrisDuos. Okay, so to get started here, the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to pick up a stop bead here. And what do you got your own to work on too, right, Jenny? Mm-hmm. Okay. And you have some lovely gold ones.
Mm-hmm. Potomacs.
Potomacs, yeah, we're using. Yeah, I have the Potomacs too. I'm using the. This is the anti-copper.
I like that
and
one.
Bring yours over onto the screen here so you can see them. I love the gold ones. The gold ones are so pretty. You're going to have a really nice, like, blingy piece of jewelry when you're done with that.
I'm thinking of making it into a ring.
Oh, that would be a great ring. Yeah, that would be an adorable ring.
Hefty.
Hefty, yeah. It's going to be hefty. Yeah, because the Potomacs are metal. So with the metal, it is going to be a little bit heavier than with the check glass. But that's also kind of what's so nice about it. So let's go ahead and start here. I'm going to pick up one of my IrisDuos, and I'm going to start with a series of 5 of my Toho seed beads here. So I have Toho 11-Os, and I'm going to pick up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I was going to say, don't you mean 3, but I did mine wrong.
No, you didn't do it wrong. We just did it differently.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm going to pick up 5. And then I'm going to go back through the end of my IrisDuo. And then I'm going to go through... I'm actually going to go through the next, actually through all these all these 11-Os again. I'm going to go through them all again. And make sure that my stop bead is not getting in the way here. And then I'm going to pick up 3 11-Os. And I'm going to go through the next hole of my IrisDuo. There's several ways that you can add these beads on. So if you find a different way to do it, you can do it in different ways as well. But basically I'm going to add these 11-Os all around the outside, and I'm going to add 5 to the end, and 3 are going to go between the holes in the IrisDuo. So I'm going to pick up another 3 Toho 11-Os, and I'm going to go through that other hole in my IrisDuo. And so now I've added 3 11-Os to each little, to the middle of my IrisDuos on each side between the 2 holes. So as my thread comes out on the other side of my IrisDuo here, I'm going to go back up through those center 3 11-Os, And now the only thing I need to add is the 5 at the end here. So I'm going to pick up 5 11-ohs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to go through, I'm not going to go through the hole in my IrisDuo, I'm just going to go through my 11-oh seed beads. And that is how we're going to add our seed beads.
I love that just by itself like that too.
Yeah, it's adorable. So that's how we're going to add our seed beads. Now to connect another section, we're going to come out of the third 11-oh in that set of 5 that we used to cap the end of the IrisDuo. So I'm going to be coming out of the center 11-oh, which would be the third one. And I'm going to pick up and add 3 11-ohs here. And go back through that seed bead. So that'll make a little square or a little circle of 4 seed beads.
Are we supposed to see the comments or no? Is that just Allie now?
I don't know. That might just be Allie. So then I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to go through my seed beads here that I just added. I'm going to go through 1 of them, 2 of them, and the third one. So I've got this little group of 4 here that I added, that I have at the end, the 3 that I added, and the 1 that I used from the tip of the IrisDuo here. And I took my needle and thread and I went around through 1, 2, 3 of them. So now I've got my thread coming out through this seed bead right there. And I'm going to use that seed bead as a center seed bead in that group of 5 that I'm going to add to the end of my IrisDuo. Shall we? Shall we keep moving on? So I'm going to pick up another 2 seed beads, and I'm going to position my IrisDuo here so that I have it with the with like the not flat side, the dome side up. So I want to make sure that when I pick up my IrisDuo, I'm not picking them up with the dome side up on some of them and the flat side on the other. So I'm going to just lay it down and position it so I know. And I'm going to go ahead and pick this up with my dome side up. And then pick up 2 more 11-ohs. Oh, sorry. 1 more. This is the part that what are you going to say?
On this one, are you sharing this bead?
I am. Can we rewind? Rewind.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to undo this. Maybe we can edit this video. It is live after all. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to share another 11-oh. So I'm coming through the 11-oh here that's on the side of my little group of 4. And then I'm also going through the first 11-oh after the center one on this IrisDuo. So I'm going through here. So I'm actually going to share my seed bead here and the seed bead here next to it. And then I'm going to pick up 1 11-oh. I'm going to pick up my IrisDuo, making sure to pick it up on the dome side. And I'm going to pick up 2 more 11-ohs. And now I'm going to pick up my 11-oh here, which is the one that I came out of at the and go through that next seed bead, the one that I'm sharing. Through the new 11-0 that I picked up, and give that a nice tight pull. And we can see here we took
back on track.
we back on track. We took a little detour, but we got back on track. So we'll remember that detour the next time, and we'll avoid that detour.
I didn't say anything sooner because I wasn't sure if it was going to be the one going down this direction, and then it would have been okay, you know what I mean? If it was coming down here.
Yeah, if this weren't live, this is where I would have been like, erase that tape. Okay, so now that we have successfully made one corner, we're going to add the rest of our seed beads to this IrisDuo, and we're going to attempt a couple more corners. So hang in there with us while we keep going on the project here.
These would also be cute cherry leaves.
Yeah,
See it?
like how you push it into yeah, the way it is just like that would be
So
adorable. Like the top of an acorn or something, that would be adorable.
Or a fringe earring.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, lots of, like so many other projects that we make, there's lots of places where you can stop and adopt it and make something else out of it. So I'm going to continue and add the seed beads around my IrisDuo here. So I'm working now between the one hole and the second hole, so I'm going to pick 3 seed beads up and go through the hole that I have open here. Pull that tight. I'm going to pick up another 3 seed beads. And I'm actually, instead of going through the hole, I'm going to go through the seed beads that are already going around the IrisDuo, because I want my thread connecting all the beads instead of going in and out of holes and having gaps.
I was going to ask about that because I wasn't sure if I had to go through the IrisDuo for it to sit right, but I guess since it'll sit on that cushion that it
you don't have to, no. I use the holes when necessary, but I prefer when I'm adding seed beads around to just kind of use the holes as anchors, but then if I don't have to use them, I like to just add them onto the seed beads that are there. Because otherwise what's going to happen is you may see a gap where the beads are kind of disjointed. Yeah. And so if you make this component and as you go through it, like you'll know what I'm talking about if you don't already. So now I've added the 3 seed beads in between the holes. So I'm going to add 5 seed beads here at the end and cap off my IrisDuo. And so here, for example, I could go through this hole here in the IrisDuo, but instead I'm going to go through my seed beads and just keep that line, the thread line, going through the seed beads and pulling them all tightly together.
More like a halo than a kind of jagged edge.
Exactly. Right, we want smooth halos, not jagged halos. Yeah, so that's actually, that's great. So a note on the thread here, because I'm using, what do we have? We did grab Sono thread here. Yeah. I have Sono thread. We're used to using a lot of the Wildfire or the Fireline. I would suggest using something thinner like a Sono or a KO, because that's going to allow you to take your thread needle through your beads a lot more times. It's going to be thinner. And with this project, I've broken so many beads and trying to figure out how, the best way to do this. So I would definitely recommend using a thinner needle, like a size 12, and a thinner thread if possible. So now that I have all my beads on the outside here, I'm going to go through that center bead, the one all the way at the end of my IrisDuo, hanging out at the end there. I'm going to pick up another group of 3 seed beads, go back through that center seed bead, and give that a pull, get my extra thread out of here. And so then that will give me a nice little right angle weave basically is what that is. And a nice little circle, a group of 4 beads. And just like we did the last time, I'm going to go through all these beads again, through 1, 2, 3 of them. And pull tight. Don't be afraid to pull tight, especially if you are using a thread that's thinner, like the KO or the Sono or the Hannah. Don't be afraid to pull tight because the thread is going to be a little bit looser. It's not going to hold things quite as tight as a Wildfire. So you'll have to do a little bit more work to keep everything tighter together. And that's why I don't mind going back through beads several times, because it gives me a little bit more leverage and I can pull it tighter.
And you're not worried about having too much thread sitting in there if you need to use the holes again.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
That's always what I think too much about. Because then you do it and you're done your project and you're like, I'm just gonna pull this thread through here, and you break 3 beads.
Yo, yeah, and you're almost done. Yeah, that is exactly why I'm telling everybody to use a thinner thread. Mm-hmm. So now I'm coming out of my little seed bead here. That's the 3rd one that I added in this little group of 4 here at the end. And what I'm going to do is then go through the first seed bead next to my center seed bead here at the end of my IrisDuo. I'm going through the first seed bead next to it towards the inside of my project. And that is the bead that we're going to share. So that's where I goofed up last time. And I want to make that clear so we can move on with our lives and not relive mistakes. Right? That's all we can hope for in life.
But if you want to put it, I don't know if you wanted to put it up there, it still has hope.
So there is hope. There is hope if you make that mistake. I shouldn't say it's a mistake. What it's going to do is you're just adding extra seed beads in there, and so it's pushing all these little components out more and opening it. I want them to be flatter and closer together, so I'm using that bead in both components to pull everything closer together. Thank you.
If you accidentally do that, just get something that has a higher dome and continue on.
Yes. Yeah, we do many versions of these before we bring them to you. So coming out of that seed bead that is towards the inside of my project next to my seed bead that was at the end, the center, at the end of my IrisDuo. And I'm only going to have to pick up one more toho here. And again, I want to make sure that I'm picking up my IrisDuo the correct way so that I have the dome side up. And it's always good to check with these IrisDuos and any 2-hole bead to make sure that as you pick it up, both holes are completely full or completely clear. Because if you pick one up and then you do all the work you need to do and then have to go to the next hole and you realize it's clogged, that's a real bummer.
It's a real bummer.
It's a real bummer.
Unfortunately, on these metal ones, you do still find it. I had one of mine.
Yeah, you don't find it as much, and it depends on the batch and the run, so it's going to be somewhat inconsistent. Yeah, I have found a couple, so just still, even though they're the metal, they're not the check glass, which we're all more familiar with having, a clogged hole here and there. Still just be careful of it. So I've got my IrisDuo picked up, the dome side facing up. I have 2 11-0 seed beads on here. And I'm going to go through that seed bead here that's going to be the new center, the one next to it, and the one that I just added. So those are 3 of my 11-0s at the end here. And the 2 that I just picked up on the other side make my 5. So I have my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seed beads there, capping the end of my IrisDuo. And give it a good tight pull. Tight pull, and then I can start adding the rest of my seed beads around here. So I need 3 to bridge the gap between the holes in my IrisDuo, and I need another 3 on this side. going to go around here, retracing through my beads, my seed beads, going around my IrisDuo. And now I'm going to cap the end of my IrisDuo off with another 5 toe hose. How are you doing over there, Jenny?
Pretty good. I did that same thing where I didn't make my little right angle weave unit, and I had to back up.
Oh, you had to back up.
I started connecting my IrisDuo without making that little circle. Know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, you didn't do the little right angle weave. Yeah, because you can just use the center bead at the end of the IrisDuo and try to connect it, but it makes it really tight.
Oh, and you don't want it to be too tight on those crystals.
You don't want it to be too tight. No.
The cushions.
So each component here, each quarter that you're making, you're going to have a couple little seed beads that are just kind of hanging out on the end here, and they're going to be the side and the bottom of that little right angle weave unit that you use, because you're using the 2 right angle weave units, or the 2 right angle weave beads from that one unit that are towards the inside of your project. So the 2 that are hanging out towards the outside of your project, they're just going to be hanging out there for now. But we'll come back and use those guys.
Looks like a little picot.
Yeah, it does look like a little picot. Okay, so one more corner here for me. Well, 2 more, but 1 more exactly the way we've been doing it. 3 beads here for my little connection. And I'm going to go back through them until I get to the 3rd one. I'm going to go through the 11-0 that is next to that center 11-0 at the end of the IrisDuo. So that is bead 1 and 2 of the cap at the end of my IrisDuo. So I need the 3rd one. I need my last IrisDuo here.
So it's a brain puzzle to get this part done.
It is. I mean, once you do it a couple times, it's like, yeah, no big deal. But yeah, I toyed with the idea of making them of doing different color 11-0s just so it was easier to teach. I think you learned the hard way.
You retain more if you struggle.
Yeah. If it's a struggle, then I think, then it's like, I gotta remember this. Can't make it too easy for people. Give that a nice tight pull. And I'm gonna add 3 11-0s here to go between the 2 holes in the IrisDuo. That's one of the nice things about having beads that have multiple holes like this. Even if you're using it in a project like this where you're not connecting them through the holes provide a way for you to, they provide an anchor so that you can bezel them and put just row or group of seed beads around them without them flopping all over the place. So that's one of the advantages to having multi-hole shapes like this. Okay, through that last one. I feel like, okay, now, all together now, add 5 beads at the end of your IrisDuo. I almost wish we had a live audience. Oh, okay, so that is not true, sorry.
Oh no.
Where's my live audience to say? So this is our last connection. So unlike the other 2 that we just did previously, I'm not going to just add another 5 at the end because I'm going to start off here by picking up 111 And then I'm going to pick up that one that we would share. So I'm picking up the two Toho beads that I'm going to share. It's going to be the center bead at the tip here of the IrisDuo and the one next to it on the inside of my project. So I have one Toho seed bead on my needle, and I'm going through and accidentally pulling it out through the Toho that's at the tip of the 11 or the tip of the IrisDuo, and the one next to it towards the inside of the project.
I was gonna say, I was gonna ask why we didn't do our right angle weave on this one, but you're going to. You're just making sure it's attached.
Yeah.
Properly to that fella.
Yeah. So I'm gonna attach it here. Right. So I've got 1, 2. Yeah. Right. Is that what I want to do?
I don't know.
You're not helping me very much.
I mean, it seems. This is why I could never do word problems. This is a word problem.
I know, right? It kind of is, yeah. So if we lay it down, and this is the hardest part a lot of times in like designing, is you have to lay it down and figure out exactly what you're doing.
Especially when you're mirroring things like that. Exactly,
yeah. So you can see we're going through, we have the one that we added, and we're sharing 2. So I should have to pick up the 2 on the outside and my center one that is going to sit above the IrisDuo.
Sounds right to me.
Sounds right to me too. We'll see what happens with that. And I'm going to go through. So these 2 on the outside are going to stay on the outside. So now I've got my 1, 2, 3. I'll go through my IrisDuo. I'm going to pick up 2 more on this side, and I'm going to use that Toho seed bead that is at the top, or it's towards the bottom of the group of 4, but it's sitting right at the top of my IrisDuo. So that's going to be 1. I'm sharing 1 and 2 and pulling this all tight. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go through all of my 11 seed beads that are going around just this bead, and I'm going to tighten everything up. So just tracing through all the 11 seed beads just around this one IrisDuo, and then I'll tighten everything up. And you can see here where I didn't connect it seed bead to seed bead, I just used the holes. This is what I was talking about earlier, is that if you do that, then you end up with this gap. So I'm going to fix that now by tightening everything up and going around with my thread. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and my 5. So I've got my 5 beads at the end there. That's good. So this process is now done. I have all of my Toho 11 around my piece, and as you go around the piece, get him out of the way, you should have 2 little beads from your right angle weave piece, right angle weave little component there at the end, that will be sticking out. Let me see yours, Jenni.
Well, I'm trying to troubleshoot that corner too, but because my thread is on the other side. See?
Okay. Oh yeah, so, Okay, so you're trying to troubleshoot this one. This is the trickiest part of the whole project, I think. So let me see where you're a little tangled here. Okay. So the tricky part is you're using all the same components, all the same beads. You just need to get them to look the same. So you've got 2 beads so far.
Is that right?
So you might actually be better if we do it from the inside. I think I did mine from the outside, so let's do yours from the inside. So let's go through here. You got a long tail here.
Yeah. Too much.
Okay.
Always way too much.
Always way too much. So it might be easier to do it from the inside. We're going to pick up 1 gold bead, one of our 11s, and we're going to share. So we're going to share one of those, right? And we're going to share the one that's towards the inside of our project, just next to the 11-0 that's at the tip of the IrisDuo.
Are we sharing that one too?
We are using that one to make our right angle weave.
Yeah. Okay.
So what we can do,
okay.
There's more than one way to do this.
Tricky.
Tricky, tricky, tricky. So far we have 1, 2 beads in our cap of 5. I need more beads, Jenny.
Oh, here.
So let's add, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm picking up 5 to finish, oops, and I'm picking up my other project. Let's get this out of here.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Live and unscripted. Making folks at home crazy. Okay. So we're a group of 5. And I'm going to go through those 2 again. So I'm going through the one that I picked up on the inside and the one that I was sharing. And now if I go through the seed bead at the very end that was at center one on the tip of my IrisDuo, that's going to be one of the 4 seed beads. That's going to make that little right angle weave component. And I need 2 more because 2 of them are going to be sitting on the outside. And I'm going to go through then the one that is the center, the 11-0 that's sitting at the center of the IrisDuo next to it. And that should give me my little right angle weave unit. So now, Jenny, you're just going to have to go through all your little beads here.
Tighten it.
And tighten it up. Yeah.
Thank you.
But you have the right number of beads in the right places at this point.
Oh dear.
This is a good one to do a pattern for.
I was going to say, I don't know if I want to do a pattern for this one.
It's that last little section that's really tricky. But if you have something that remotely looks like this, you're doing great. You're doing great. Yeah. So, okay, so where's my thread now? Here we go. So I went around and I just tightened up the beads. And if you have any parts of your project where you feel like it needs to be tightened up, now is a great time to just go through the beads, tighten it up, especially if you're using a thinner thread like this one that I'm using. It's great to go through and tighten things up because you're going to want to just make sure that everything is in the right spot. So how are you doing, Jenny?
Good. I'm looking, I think I need to tighten it up over here. Got a hole.
Got a hole? Yeah, just tighten that up.
I hope I don't
And
have
if for
too
any
few
reason
beads.
if for any reason you end up having like too few, yeah, I
think I might have too few right there.
Too few? Okay. I accidentally got a piece of thread caught, so I'm just gonna pick up, yeah. Here we hide things. So tighten it all up, cinch it, get everything where you want it to be.
I guess since I'm possibly missing a bead, that's okay because of the 15s, right?
Yeah, we'll take care of that, yeah.
Because
so if you mean,
covered up.
yeah. So now what I'm gonna do on the back side of my project is we're going to utilize these two little 11-Os that are sticking out that were the two outside corners of our little grouping of 4 that we use to connect our sections here. So I'm going to flip this guy over, and this is what we're going to do. We're going to make our little bezel that's going to hold. Where's mine? Where's my crystals? there we go. Okay, so that little crystal is going to sit in there upside down, and we're going to make a little net for him. And let me see here. How many did
I think 5.
5? Okay. So I'm going to go through the 2 Toho seed beads that are hanging out by themselves. They kind of look like little bunny ears, and they're going to be on the outside there. And I'm going to pick up 5, and if that's not right, I'll blame Jenni. Oh no.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
5 sounds right.
1, 2, 3, 4. Uh-oh.
Oh no. So we're going to pick up 5, and then we're going to go to...
Yeah, 5.
Okay. And then we're going to go to the next set of 2. And pull that tight. And we're going to put our cushion in there. And we're just going to go around and continue to pick up 5 and connecting those outside beads. 2, 3, 4, 5. And go through the next 2.
The way that those are sitting there, you could also start a herringbone.
Yeah, you absolutely could.
Don't know what you're doing there.
Well, no, I had actually thought about that too. Like you could start a little herringbone and, yeah, take a little herringbone off the side here.
Mm-hmm.
You could definitely do that. Yeah. Okay, back where I started here.
Oh.
And we'll make sure that these stay on the right side instead of flopping around. There we go. And I'm going to go through all these beads again just to give it a nice tight bezel in the back here. Especially using a thinner thread, you'll have a little bit of a harder time keeping it all nice, cinched and tight. So I'm a big fan of going through multiple times and making sure that it's nice and tight. And we can see this shaping together. How are you doing, Jenni?
Not bad.
Good, good, not bad, that's okay. And we can see on the front here, now our little bezeled, not a revolt,
cushion.
It's a cushion, It's a square of Opaque. Now he's got like these little bug eyes.
Bug eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when we cinch it all together, it really pushes these IrisDuos and makes them pop out. So then we're going to add some 15-0s to the top of this and get them to sit in a little. They're going to like sink into those into those 15-0s. So they're not going to be popping out quite as much. So I'm just going to finish this up a little bit. Just make sure that this is really nice and tight back here because you don't want anything coming out. The centerpiece of your project. Okay, I think I got it. I got it nice and tight back here. So now I'm just going to work my thread from the back to the front here. And I'm going to go through some seed beads here on the side. Let's come up here to my first layer of 11-0s around one of my IrisDuos. So I want my thread to be coming out of one of my 11-0s that was that set of 3 that bridged that gap between the first and second hole. So I want to be coming out of one of those seed beads. I don't need these 11-0s anymore. I'm going to be just working with my 15-0s. So I have a matte opaque dark cream 15-0. And I like having the contrast. I think the contrast is really
pretty.
nice. Yeah.
I'm sorry, where are you coming out?
Oh, well, you can kind of start anywhere, but I'm going to come out of the end of the 3.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, so I have the 3 11-0s here that that I added between the 2 holes. Yeah, I'm just going to come out of there. I think that's a great place to start. And I'm going to go through the hole in my IrisDuo, and then I'm going to add my 15-0s, and I'm going to add my 15-0s in pretty much the same way that I added the 11-0s, so the same sort of formula, same pattern, but they're smaller. So we're going to need to pick up another number of beads. 3, I believe, worked fine for this section here where we're going between, yeah, 3 works fine. And then I think I picked up extras on the tip here. So we're going to go with 3. I'm going to add 3.
But that's the same amount as before. Oh, I see what you're saying. You put more on the outside.
Yeah, 3 works really well for me. I mean, we can try it both ways, but 3 worked well for me. And it might also depend on your seed beads.
4 might
so
pucker,
you can, yeah, 4 might pucker. You can, if you have smaller beads, like the Miyukis are going to be a little bit smaller, so you may need 4 there. But we're going to do 3. So I've added them, and now I'm going to go through that set of 3 again, and I'm going to make the little cap on the end of my IrisDuo. So for this part, we did 5 11-0s. I'm going to do 6 15-0s. So I'm going to have an even number. So I won't have a center one, but that's okay because I won't need a center one for this now. And so now 6, give it a nice tight pull. I want to have everything nice and tight. Oops, is that too few? Maybe I need 8, or maybe I want 7. That
didn't go all the way around?
Yeah, I feel like it was pulling. So let's try 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's try 7.
Ready to count these?
There we go. 7's better.
7?
Yeah, 7's much better. So I will have a center one on that. Yeah. And I'll pick up another 7 here and cap this one. So I have 4, 5, 6, 7. And I'm going to go back through my beads here and just go back around all of it and just tighten that up. So it will depend on the size bead you're using. If you're using, you can do this with some 15-0 delicas. You can do this just with another color of 11-0. You can do this with Toho or Miyuki. So there's not going to be one perfect number of seed beads to pick up, but you'll figure that out based on just doing this first one. So I'm happy with this. I'm happy with doing the 3 and the 7 to cap it.
Fun.
Good. You didn't do any of your, you didn't move on to the second row yet.
I'm just slow.
You're just like, okay.
I just got my backside tightened.
No, that's good. That's good. You take all the time you need on the backside there, okay?
And your special student.
Oh, you're my very special student,
Oh my,
Jenni.
got my head in the way.
Hit your head on these bars one too many times
Yeah.
to be my very special student. Okay, so I'm going to give this a tug here. And then I'm going to go over and start working on my next IrisDuo. I am going to actually, now you can, I don't want to give you too many options here because tutorial with too many options isn't good, right? This isn't choose your own adventure. But you can connect them or you can do them individually. So you could like cut your thread, tie it off, and just do a whole nother component over here, or start anew with your 15-0s over here. I'm going to connect them. So what I'm going to do is, similarly to what we did on the row underneath, I'm going to pick a point where I want to connect them and I want them joined. So I'm going to join them on the inside here using my 15-0. So what I'm going to do then is pick up another 15-0 here. And you can see here, I have a couple 15-0s here that are conjoined together. So I've just circled around here and connected them. Now you can do this before or after. So I'm going to show you how to do it after because I think that makes a little bit more sense. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to come out of one of my 15-0s, and I'm just going to work on the layer underneath here. So I'm going to go through some of my 11-0s, and this will also help to keep things pulled down and from popping up, because I'm going to go from my top layer to my bottom layer with my thread, and that'll help pull my top layer down. And I'm just going to travel through my 11-0s here until I get to the hole in my IrisDuo, and I'll go through that hole, and I'm going to use the same formula that I did over here. So I was happy with 3, so I'm going to pick up 3 of my 15-0s, go through the hole, pick up another 3 15-0s, and go through the hole. Go through 3 15-0s again here, and pull tight. And we said 7 worked with these little guys that I'm working with today. So I'm going to do 4, 5, is that 4? That's 4, 5, 6, 7, through this 15-0s again. And do the same thing on the other side here. So I'm going to pick up 7, 4, 5, 6, 7, and go through this again. And I'm going to go through all my 15-0s here until I get to where I want to connect them. So now what I'm going to do is I'm at my corner here where I can connect the two, my two little circles of my 15-0 seed beads. So I'm going to take two 11-0s, or sorry, two 15-0s that are across from each other so that they're mirror images of each other. And I'm just going to go down through one and then up through the other. Give it a nice little pull. And go through those beads one more time. So I'm just circling around them and pulling them together. And then I'm going to move on to my next component. So you can see that will just connect the corners there, and it'll help keep the project down. Because if you don't have it anchored really well, your second layer could just kind of go flopping all over the place. So I'm going to move on here and move on to my next IrisDuo. I'm going to come through my 15-0s, and I'm just going to hop on down to my layer of 11-0s underneath. So I'm just going to go from my 15-0 to the 11-0 that's directly underneath it, go through my 11-0s till I get to where I want to be in my IrisDuo.
I have a question when you have a minute.
Absolutely.
What
do you got going on?
I had to do 8 because it was too tight. Is 8 enough?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah, try it. The tiny little beads can be a little bit different, so if 8 works for you, go with 8.
Does it look like I need 9, or does 8 look like
No,
it's
I
okay?
think it looks fine.
Okay.
Yeah. Mine are not super tight. Like, because they have room to kind of bend. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I do like that better.
Yeah.
Than if I would put more in there.
Yeah, I kind of err on the side of putting on maybe 1 or 2 less than can actually fit, just because I found that when I erred on the side of putting too many, then it like buckled and it didn't really fit really well. So I erred on the side of going with 1 or 2 less. But it'll be a little bit of trial and error. And the seed beads too, it really depends on what bead you use.
Well, and I'm using a Miyuki and you're using a Miyuki, but still I needed that one more.
These, these are Miyuki. Yeah, these look like Tohos to me, these little Miyukis.
Look how
For some reason, they just kind of look more like Tohos.
Look at the thickness of this one. See, doesn't
Yeah.
yours look a little thicker?
Yeah, mine looks a little bit thicker. So, you never can tell with these sneaky beads. That's why we say just try out a number of beads and see if that works for you, because what works for a green bead may not work for a beige bead. Miyuki is really good though as far as being consistent. So you rarely find that when you're working in these tight spaces, if a pattern calls for a certain number of beads, that you have to make a substitution. But feel free to make those substitutions if you feel it's necessary. Toho is a little bit more irregular. So when you're working with Toho, I've noticed that sometimes they're a little bit thicker, sometimes they're a little bit thinner. So you may want to, just take that into consideration. If they're saying you're going to need, 6 beads, maybe 5 ends up working out okay. And if you're switching from Toho to Miyuki, maybe instead of 6 beads, you're going to need 7, because Miyuki is a little bit thinner. So I like the way this is turning out. And one thing I really like about this component is the layers of it. I love the layers because you've got a smaller bead on top of a larger bead. You've got the 15s. My end over here keeps curling up. You have a small bead on top of a large bead, and it creates that depth. And so you've got all the colors reflecting in your crystal.
Mm-hmm. I like that it's hefty.
Yeah, and it's a hefty one. You can make it a little bit less hefty by, instead of using the Potomac's metal beads, you can use the check glass beads. But I don't know that hefty is a bad thing.
No, I love it.
Yeah, it just depends on what you want
This
it for.
could make you a really nice, like, real heavy bracelet. I like heavy bracelets.
Yeah, I love heavy bracelets too. Yeah. And I wonder if you could even make this into a clasp by taking one of these components and then maybe somehow, like, instead of covering a cushion, covering part of a push clasp, and then pushing, like, covering
That's a good idea.
the receptacle end. I gotta think about that. That may not work the way I think it's going to, but
worth trying.
But yeah, I think it would be worth trying. Yeah, like you get a plain push clasp and then just cover it. Yeah. Obviously, you have to make sure that you're leaving it open. So
right. Ooh, that's the trickier part.
That's the tricky part. Making a little cover for it wouldn't be hard, but leaving it open in the right spot so that you're not blocking your clasp from working. That's going to be the tricky part. Okay, almost done here. And then I will have 3 components all in the same color. And that may make a lovely necklace. I put some earrings. I put some ear wires on these guys because I had 2 of them made. But I think once I get this component done, like that may be just like a super fun necklace to do 3 together like that. Yeah. So you chose to do it in gold, which I love. I love the gold. And are you connecting your components or not? I don't think you have to.
I want to. Did you say you can do that after?
Yeah, you can totally do that after. I mean, you can do that any old time you want. You're just picking seed beads that are across from each other and connecting them.
Okay.
Yeah. And it helps to pull everything straight. This first one's a little wonky because I think that I went through too many times and pulled it too tight in one area. So I kind of, he's going to be what he wants to be.
Mine not being connected look kind of like tentacles.
Yeah. Yeah, because they kind of fly like off. Like put yours down there again for a second. So they kind of fly off, and they're very 3D, which isn't a bad thing. You can also, instead of pulling them closer together, you can add another little seed bead. Like, let's just say you wanted to add...
I might have to.
A little 11 there in a different color.
Oh, yeah.
And that would give it like a nice little... another little added dimension. I like that.
Yeah.
That's really cute.
Yeah, that's really cute.
Yeah. I'm going to do mine over again now, Jenny.
You have necklace, bracelet,
really
earrings.
Yeah, necklace, bracelet, earrings, everything. Okay, so last little thing here. I just want to connect a couple of these guys together. And like I said, you don't have to connect them, but it does help anchor them. And you can also connect them by anchoring a 15-0 to an 11-0 that's underneath it. And that will also help your ends from kind of flying out of control. So the last thing to do on this component is going to be figuring out how you want to connect it. So you can make a bunch of components, and then you can put them together later and figure out how you want to connect them. Or what I would do is I would think beforehand, okay, do I want to use wire guards? Do I want to just basically string a little bit of, you know, seed beads between them, or, you know, a 4 or 6 millimeter check glass? So you'd want to think about that ahead of time. These are connected. I put little wire guards on these, so that's what I do with these. And to do that, all I'm going to do here is I'm going to decide where I want to hang it. So do I want it to be centered, or do I want it to be off-centered? So do I want to have my IrisDuos going straight like that, or do I want to have them at an angle so I have more of like the corners at an angle? And once you decide that, I'm just going to hang it. How did I do it? I hung it at the center of an IrisDuo. Here we go. So once you decide that, it's a matter of just finding the 11-0. That's where you want your wire guard to be. And you're just going to go up through the wire guard, back down through the other side of the wire guard, the other side, back through that 11-0. 1 11-0 is all you need there, and you're just going to center your wire guard on that 11-0, and I'm going to go through again just to reinforce it, and then tie it off. That's pretty much it. So what do you think of this project?
I love it.
Yeah.
I'm going to make more.
Yeah, it's definitely, I would say, okay, my thread came off, so we're done. But it's definitely addicting. I would go back and I would fix this one myself because I pulled my thread a little too tight in one place. But so let's look at the really nice ones that I made. But it's definitely one of my favorite projects that I've done. I would do it in a bunch of different colors, and I would connect them like this. Maybe I would string a little 4 millimeter round in between. I would maybe just like literally string it, take some wire and come underneath here and kind of take my thread or my wire like in between, just take it underneath there maybe, just string it. Yeah. The other thing you could do if you wanted to make a stretchy bracelet with it is you could add like a crossbar here of seed beads that you would use as like your holes to string through if you wanted to do that.
That's a great idea.
Just came up with that. So yeah, that's our Rosie component. Yeah, and let's see yours, Jenni. So cute.
Getting there.
I love that. Yeah, I love it. I love layering the seed beads. They look so good when they're layered. It gives you so much dimension, and it makes your piece so much more substantial and like thicker. Great. I'm glad you enjoyed doing it. You have a really pretty violet opal in there too, so that's really pretty.
It's actually black diamond,
Is
which
it?
I didn't know we had black diamond opal.
Oh, it's pretty. Well, now everyone else knows we have black diamond opal too. So thank you guys so much for watching. And oh, here's the green one too, so you can see when you add the different colors, it creates a whole new vibe. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like the videos, make sure to subscribe and hit the like button. Comment below and tell us what you liked. If you don't like something, just be nice.
Don't tell us.
Don't tell us. Right? If you don't hate anything good, just say don't say anything at all. No, we are all about constructive criticism. So definitely if there's suggestions you have for things you want to see, or if there's questions you have about the tutorial, because we kind of were learning as we went along. If you have questions, totally ask us. We'll definitely reply. And I think this is a great one for doing a written pattern for. So maybe I'll put a bug in someone's ear about that. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you. The next video that we will be doing will be the unboxing for February's best bead box, which we are working diligently on and feeling really good about. So thank you guys again for watching, and we will see you February for our unboxing. Bye.